7 Strategies for Wealth and Happiness by Jim Rohn. Strategy 1. Unleash the Power of Goals. Chapter 2. Goals, What Motivates People.
One morning, 2 weeks after I started working for him, Mr. Schoaf and I were having breakfast together.
Just as I was about to finish my eggs, he said, "Jim, let's take a look at your list of goals so that we can review and discuss them. Maybe that's the best way I can help you right now." "But I don't have a list with me," I replied.
"Well, is it out in your car or at home somewhere?" "No, sir, I don't have a list anywhere."
Mr. Schoaf sighed.
"Well, young man, looks like this is where we'd better start." Then, looking directly into my eyes, he said, "If you don't have a list of your goals, I can guess your bank balance within a few $100s.
He guessed right. And that really got my attention. I was astonished. "You mean that if I had a list of my goals, my bank balance would change?" I asked.
"Drastically," he said.
That day I became a student of the art and science of goal setting.
Of all the things I've learned since those early days, goal setting has had the most profound effect on my life. Every aspect of my existence, my accomplishments, my income, my bank balance, my lifestyle, my donations, even my personality, changed for the better. I am so convinced that mastering goal setting can have a profound effect on your life that I'm going to devote a great deal of space to discussing this often misunderstood process. In fact, I urge you to do more than just read the following chapters. Study them. And if you have a notebook handy, so much the better. The power of dreams. Each and every one of our lives is affected by several factors. One of those factors is our environment, where we live, what kind of parents we have, which schools we attend, who our friends are, each plays a role. We are also shaped by the events in our lives. A war, for example, can wrench all certainty from our psyche. Knowledge, or the lack of it, will also shape our lives. So can the results of our efforts. We can either be elated or deflated based on our ability to achieve those desired results. But of all the factors that affect our lives, none has as much potential power for doing good as our ability to dream. Dreams are a projection of the life we wish to lead. Therefore, when we allow them to pull us, our dreams unleash a creative force that can overpower all obstacles hindering the attainment of our objectives. To unharness this power, however, dreams must be well defined. A fuzzy future has little pull power. To really achieve your dreams, to really have your future plans pull you, your dreams must be vivid. Now, there are 2 ways to face the future. You can face the future with anticipation or you can face it with apprehension. Guess how many people face the future with apprehension? Right, most do. You've seen the type always worrying. Why are these individuals so apprehensive? Because they haven't spent time designing their futures. In many cases, they live their lives by trying to win the approval of someone else. In the process, they end up buying into someone else's view of how life should be lived. No wonder they are worried, always looking around, seeking approval for everything they do. On the other hand, those who face the future with anticipation have planned a future worth getting excited about. They can see the future in their mind's eye, and it looks terrific. The future captures their imagination, and it exerts an enormous pull on them. The power of well-defined goals. Dreams are wonderful, but they are not enough. It's not sufficient to have a brilliant painting of the desired result. To erect a magnificent structure, one must also have a step-by-step blueprint of how to lay the foundation, support the structure, and so on. And for that we need goals. Like a well-defined dream, well-defined goals work like magnets. They pull you in their direction. The better you define them, the better you describe them, the harder you work on achieving them, the stronger they pull. And believe me when I say that when the potholes of life threaten to stall you on the road to your success, you'll need a strong magnet to pull you forward. To understand how crucial goals are, observe the vast majority who do not have any goals. Instead of designing their lives, these misguided people simply make a living. They fight every day of their lives in the war zone of economic survival, choosing existence over substance. No wonder Thoreau said, most people live lives of quiet desperation.
Reasons.
Mr. Schoaf said to me, Jim, I don't think your current bank balance is a true indicator of your level of intelligence.
Boy, was I happy to hear that.
He continued, I think you have plenty of talent and ability and that you're much smarter than you realize.
And that turned out to be true, I was smarter than I thought at the time. Then why isn't my bank balance bigger? I asked.
Because you don't have enough reasons to accomplish, answered my friend. And then he added, if you had enough motivation you could do incredible things, you have enough intelligence but not enough reasons.
A key thought, indeed, have enough reasons. Since then I've discovered this, reasons come first, answers second. It seems that life has a mysterious quirk of camouflaging the answers in such a way that they become apparent only to those who are inspired enough to look for them, who have reasons to look for them.
Let's put it another way. When you know what you want and you want it badly enough, you'll find a way to get it. The answers, methods, and solutions you need to solve the problems along the way will be revealed to you. Hey, what if you had to be rich? What if the very life of someone you love depended on your being able to afford the very best medical care? Let's further suppose that you just learned of a book or a cassette tape that would show you how to make a fortune. Would you buy it?
Of course you would.
Because you are already reading a book on success, it should come as no surprise to you that there are many good books and tapes on the subject of creating wealth. But if you don't have to be rich, you probably won't read them or take the time to listen to them. There is an old saying, necessity is the mother of invention.
How true! With that in mind, always work on your reasons first and the answers second.
4 great motivators.
The big question you'll need to answer for yourself is, what motivates me? Different things motivate different people. We all have our own hot buttons.
And if you do a bit of soul searching, I'm sure you'll come up with a compelling list of your own.
What are some of the great motivators for excelling?
Aside from the obvious desire for financial gain, there are 4 other big motivators.
The first one is recognition.
Great companies and savvy sales managers know that some people will do more for recognition than they will for material rewards. That's why successful sales organizations, especially those involved in direct sales, take great pains to give recognition for any accomplishment, large or small.
They know that in our overcrowded world most people feel that nobody cares, that they don't matter.
And recognition is a kind of validation for their worthiness. In effect, those who recognize others are saying, hey, you are special, you make a difference. I believe that if more companies took greater care to recognize their employees, not just the salespeople but also the executives, the secretaries, and the maintenance people, they would see an unbelievable surge in productivity.
The second reason some people excel is because they like the feeling of winning. This is one of the best reasons. If you must be addicted to something, make it an addiction to winning.
I have some friends, all millionaires, who still work 10 to 12 hours a day making more millions.
And it's not because they need the money.
It's because they need the joy, the pleasure, and the satisfaction that come from their wins.
To them, money isn't the big drive, they already have plenty. You know what it is?
It's the journey, the exhilarating feeling that comes from winning. Once in a while, usually just after I give a seminar, someone will come up to me and say, Mr. Rohn, if I had $1 million, I'd never work another day in my life. That's probably why the good Lord sees to it that people who say things like that never make a fortune. They would all just quit. The third great motivator is family. Some people will do for their loved ones what they will not do for themselves. I once met a man who told me, Mr. Rohn, my family and I have a goal to travel around the world. To do everything we want to do will take $250,000 a year.
How incredible! Could a man's family affect him that much? And the answer is, of course. How fortunate are those who are so profoundly affected by love?
Benevolence, the desire to share one's wealth, is the fourth great motivator. When the great steel magnate Andrew Carnegie died, his desk drawer was opened.
Inside one of the drawers was a yellowed sheet of paper. On that slip of paper, dated from the time he was in his 20s, Carnegie had written the main goal for his life: I am going to spend the first half of my life accumulating money. I am going to spend the last half of my life giving it all away. You know what?
Carnegie was so inspired by this that he accumulated $450 million, which is equivalent to $4.5 billion today. And, indeed, during the last part of his life he had the joy of giving it all away.
Nitty-gritty reasons. Wouldn't it be wonderful to be motivated to achievement by such a lofty goal as benevolence?
I must confess, however, that in the early years of my struggle to succeed my motivation was a lot more down to earth.
My reason for succeeding was more basic.
In fact, it fell into the category of what I like to call nitty-gritty reasons. A nitty-gritty reason is the kind that any one of us can have at any time, on any day, and it can cause our lives to change.
Let me tell you what happened to me.
Shortly before I met Mr. Schoaf, I was lounging at home one day when I heard a knock at the door.
It was a timid, hesitant knock.
When I opened the door, I looked down to see a pair of big brown eyes staring up at me.
There stood a frail little girl of about 10.
She told me, with all the courage and determination her little heart could muster, that she was selling Girl Scout cookies.
It was a masterful presentation, several flavors, a special deal, and only $2 per box. How could anyone refuse? Finally, with a big smile and ever so politely, she asked me to buy. And I wanted to. Oh, how I wanted to. Except for one thing. I didn't have $2. Boy, was I embarrassed. Here I was, a father, had been to college, was gainfully employed, and yet I didn't have $2 to my name. Naturally, I couldn't tell this to the little girl with the big brown eyes. So I did the next best thing. I lied to her. I said, thanks, but I've already bought Girl Scout cookies this year. And I've still got plenty stacked in the house. Now that simply wasn't true. But it was the only thing I could think of to get me off the hook. And it did. The little girl said, "That's okay, sir. Thank you very much." And with that she turned around and went on her way. I stared after her for what seemed like a very long time. Finally, I closed the door behind me and, leaning my back to it, cried out, "I don't want to live like this anymore. I've had it with being broke, and I've had it with lying. I'll never be embarrassed again by not having any money in my pocket." That day I promised myself to earn enough to always have several $100s in my pocket at all times. This is what I mean by an integrity reason. It may not win me any prize for greatness, but it was enough to have a permanent effect on the rest of my life. My Girl Scout cookie story does have a happy ending. Several years later, as I was walking out of my bank where I had just made a hefty deposit and was crossing the street to get into my car, I saw two little girls who were selling candy for some girls' organization. One of them approached me, saying, "Mister, would you like to buy some candy?" "I probably would," I said playfully. "What kind of candy do you have?" "It's almond roca." "Almond roca? That's my favorite." "How much is it?" "It's only $2. $2? It couldn't be." I was excited. "How many boxes of candy have you got?" "I've got 5. Looking at her friend, I said, "And how many boxes do you have left?" "I've got 4. That's 9. Okay, I'll take them all." At this, both girls' mouths fell open as they exclaimed in unison, "Really?" "Sure," I said. "I've got some friends that I'll pass some around to." Excitedly, they scurried to stack all the boxes together. I reached into my pocket and gave them $18. As I was about to leave, the boxes tucked under my arm, one of the girls looked up and said, "Mister, you're really something." How about that? Can you imagine spending only $18 and having someone look you in the face and say, "You're really something"? Now you know why I always carry a few $100s on me. I'm not about to miss chances like that ever again. Let me give you another example of a nitty-gritty reason for wanting to do well. I have a friend by the name of Robert Depew. Bobby used to be a schoolteacher in Lindsay, California, the olive capital. After several years as a teacher, Bobby was looking forward to making a break and starting a new career. One day, without telling anyone, he quit teaching and jumped into sales. When his family found out about it, he became the butt of lots of criticism. But the worst reaction came from his brother, who seemed to be getting great pleasure from harassing him. "You're going to go right down the drain," mocked his brother. "You had a good teaching job. Now you're gonna lose everything you've got. You must be out of your mind." Bobby's brother kept taunting him every chance he had. As Bobby relates, "The way my brother acted made me so angry that I decided to get rich." Today, Bobby Depew is one of my millionaire friends. This story, as well as my own cookie story, demonstrate that even anger and embarrassment, when properly channeled, can act as powerful nitty-gritty motivators to achieve. Do you have something to prove? Do you have some old embarrassment you want to wipe off the slate? You know, that old saying, "Massive success is the sweetest revenge," is true. As you can see, there are almost as many reasons for people to do well as there are people. The key is to have enough reasons. How does one find the hot button, or buttons, that can transform a life of modest accomplishment into a life of wealth and happiness? That's the subject of the next chapter.